So, what if the US economy was on the brink of a truly unprecedented boom? A pretty bold vision for exactly that has been making the rounds, and today we're going to break down the blueprint. Let's dive right in.
One golden year. It all kicks off with that statement. That's not some mild prediction. That is a massive claim, a historic one. So, what on earth is the foundation for an outlook that bullish? And who's making the claim?
Well, the architect behind this forecast is Kevin Hassett. Now, as a former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, his perspective carries some serious weight. He laid out this whole blueprint during a recent interview, where he was also being talked about as a potential nominee to lead the Federal Reserve. So, let's unpack the different parts of his vision.
Okay, so the absolute core of this entire forecast, the engine that's supposed to drive this so-called golden year, it all comes down to one thing: artificial intelligence. But it's the way he frames it that's really, really interesting.
This is the central analogy. The argument isn't that AI is going to just come in and replace jobs. Instead, it's that AI will act as a personal coach for every single worker in every field. So think of it as this incredible tool that just makes you better, faster, and more effective at what you already do. It amplifies your skills instead of making them obsolete. And here's the hard number they've attached to that idea: a predicted 4% jump in productivity. Now, to put that into perspective for you, productivity growth has been averaging well under 2% for years. A sustained jump to 4% would be a total game changer for the economy, and according to this vision, it's all because of AI.
To really understand this, the source draws a direct line back to the 1990s. Back then, it was the personal computer that drove a huge productivity boom. The Fed chair at the time, Alan Greenspan, saw what was happening, and he held off on raising interest rates, which let the economy run hot without sparking major inflation. The argument here is that AI is an even more powerful driver than the PC was, and so the Fed should do the same thing. Don't take away the punch bowl just when the party's getting good.
So, if AI is the engine, what's the high-octane fuel? Well, this forecast doesn't just rely on technology. The idea is to supercharge it with a very specific set of government policies.
The policy blueprint really comes down to three main pillars. First, push the Fed to cut interest rates, making it cheaper for businesses to invest and grow. Second, put more money directly into people's pockets by getting rid of taxes on things like tips and Social Security. And third, keep using tariffs to encourage companies to build their factories right here in the US.
And the intended result of creating this kind of economic environment? A massive flood of capital. The source cites this incredible figure of $18 trillion in investment just waiting to pour into the United States, all because of this mix of high productivity and friendly policies.
But, and this is a big but, there's a major wild card in that whole tariff strategy. There's a case heading to the Supreme Court that could basically blow up the legal foundation for how they've been used, and that introduces a whole lot of uncertainty into the plan.
And this is where we get a look at the contingency plan. The stakes are really high. An unfavorable ruling is framed as a potential massive economic disruption. But the forecast has a backup ready to go, using other legal authorities, trade laws that are already on the books, to immediately put the same tariff structure right back in place. The message is pretty clear. The tariff strategy is going to happen, one way or another.
Okay, so we've got AI, we've got trillions in investment, complex policy stuff. But how does any of this connect to your wallet? Well, the blueprint actually tackles that crucial issue of affordability head-on.
This table kind of lays out the diagnosis and the prescription. According to Hassett, the affordability problem was, quote, 100% created by the Biden administration through things like regulation and inflation. The proposed fixes are just as direct. Use that AI productivity boom to increase supply and bring down costs, roll back fuel efficiency standards to lower car prices, and launch another round of measures to tackle the high cost of housing.
And this chart is meant to illustrate the turnaround that's claimed to already be happening. The argument is that while household spending power dropped by about $3,000 under the Biden administration, it's already bounced back by $1,200 this year. The message they're sending is simple: the corner has already been turned.
Now, beyond just dealing with immediate costs, the vision includes this really ambitious long-term proposal. It's designed to fundamentally change the financial picture for future generations, and it's called Trump Accounts.
So what are these? The big idea here is to create a universal investment account for every single child born in the United States. The goal, as they state it, is to give every American a piece of the action from day one, making them a stakeholder in the economy's success literally from birth. And to get the ball rolling, the proposal includes an initial government contribution of $1,000, deposited right into every newborn's account. So this isn't just an empty account, it's seeded from the very beginning.
And here's the thing. This wouldn't just be a government program. The vision depends on a public-private partnership. The source points to a massive $6.2 billion contribution from Michael Dell as the perfect example of the kind of philanthropic buy-in they're hoping to get.
So, to wrap this all up, what we have is an economic forecast that's built on a massive AI-powered productivity surge. That surge is then amplified by very specific policies: interest rate cuts, tax cuts, deregulation. And the big end goals are to tackle affordability, create widespread prosperity, and build a new ownership society through these universal investment accounts.
It's a comprehensive and, you have to admit, an incredibly optimistic blueprint, right? It connects technology, federal policy, and our own financial futures into one grand story. And all of that leaves us with the really critical question: what are the key assumptions about AI, about policy, about global investment that this entire vision rests on? Thanks for joining us.